I've enjoyed visiting state capitals as I've started exploring, different parts of these states that I do these videos on. And today we're in Oklahoma City. We're at the Oklahoma State Capitol behind me here. It's a very interesting one because you can see the signs of oil in front of it. And, Oklahoma's so known for that oil history here. And there's all kinds of interesting history in Oklahoma, so I'm curious to go in and check it out to see how it stacks up to some other Capitol buildings I've been to already. I'm standing here in the parking lot. It's on a Saturday, actually. I'm in a parking space for, it says a house member, so I don't think they're working today, so I don't think they'll mind me parking in their spot. But it's a very beautiful building from the outside. Let's go to the inside and see what we can find. It's the only state capitol grounds known to have previously had an active oil well on the property. The oil well was nicknamed Petunia 1 because it was drilled in the middle of a flower bed in 1942. Oil production on the Capitol grounds continued until 1986. First turnpike started in 1949. So they have different things all around the grounds here. We go inside. Oklahoma voters repeal alcohol prohibition, 1959. There's one about the Oklahoma City bombing right there. And so there's a whole bunch of them around the square here. Up to the front, the oldest one I see here, Santa Fe and Texas Road Cross, Oklahoma, 1821. So obviously they're in a little bit of an order, because now we're at 1824. Fort Gibson, first fort established in Oklahoma. All right, let's head inside. And now we're inside. The Capitol building's open for touring on a daily basis. It's free. And you can get guided tours, but you can just walk in and check things out. You have these panels here that if you're looking for something specific, maybe if you have a meeting or something like that. So that's some information there. Right here at the beginning, they have some cool maps. Might be kind of hard to see on the video, but different eras of Oklahoma. And this is the modern map. I like looking at the Panhandle. Always fascinated with no man's land out there. And then this is when it was called Oklahoma Territory. And you can see the counties are not exactly the same as they were or as they are today. And then this one is Indian Territory. It shows all the different native tribes in the state, which is obviously a huge part of the history here in Oklahoma, including this guy's named the Guardian. He's actually also on top of the dome. So that's, you can't see it very well from the outside, that's what he looks like. So I'm going to show you during this video tons of artwork. And so there's a little bit there at the beginning. They have a gift shop. Wasn't open on this day, but I was there on a Saturday. Got some Route 66 stuff, 100-year anniversary of Route 66. So first thing to probably check out is to go right to the center, and you'll be able to see the seal, and then we'll take a glance upward and see how beautiful it looks up there. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of artwork here. You might get tired of all the artwork, but around the central part here where I was just standing, there are different big, huge paintings representing different people of Oklahoma, and they're really well done. So if we go kind of turn around, we'll go down to some different hallways here on the first floor. There's several floors we're going to explore. So the Capitol was built between 1914 and 1917, officially completed on June 30th, 1917. This would be where people eat and hang out probably a little bit. The one thing I liked about this is they had some old pictures of the Capitol. You can see it doesn't have a dome right there. So walking over here in this part, I'd say this is the biggest historical section of the museum. That's pretty interesting. Before we go inside the room behind it, these are old voting boxes. This is a little section about voting. And what I really liked is these old boxes there. There's Sayre County, Durant, Ward 1. Pretty cool that they were able to keep those. So inside this room, it's really well done. A lot of historical information. So it's pretty interesting how it got here because originally it wasn't here. So before Oklahoma City was the capital, Guthrie was the Oklahoma territorial capital and the first state capital until 1910. So Oklahoma became a state in 1907. So until 1910 it was Guthrie. And then on June 11, 1910, state officials secretly moved the state seal from Guthrie to Oklahoma City. So a statewide vote had approved moving the capital, but the leaders of Guthrie were fighting it in court. And officials worried that if Guthrie residents knew exactly when the move would happen, they might physically block it or create legal obstacles. So on that June 11, 1910 date, officials quietly removed the official state seal, which legally determined the seat of the government. They removed it from Guthrie and transported to Oklahoma City. Once the seal was in Oklahoma City, it effectively became the capital before opponents could react. Guthrie leaders tried to challenge the move legally, but the courts upheld Oklahoma City as the capital. And Guthrie declined in political importance while Oklahoma City continued to grow into the state's dominant city. So pretty interesting how it ended up being here. Some cool artifacts of things from the era making the capital here. Here's the story about the location of the capital. It was designed by Andrew Layton. It was a Greek Revival, Greco-Roman style. And there's utensils they used for drawing. Architects might like that little history there. They got some interactive things here to check out. So a lot of information if you want to do a deep dive. This was a grouping of things that they found as they did some kind of reconstruction of the building later on. Found some old stuff in there. All right, let's head out and check out more of the building. See, back in the middle where we looked up and saw the dome and more artwork. Like I said, lots of these. I mean, I'm going to show you dozens of them here. I just thought they were so cool looking and representing Oklahoma very well. Got to have some Capitol themed cowboy boots if you're in Oklahoma. All right, let's head up to the second floor. We saw most everything we could on the first floor. There's not as much as we go up, the other floors as there was on the first floor. Everything is obviously really beautiful and very well kept. The second level has some kind of Black history theme and more paintings and photographs and historical artifacts related to Black history. And then, you'll walk by and you'll see things like this is where the Secretary of State works. This hallway, which has no artwork on the walls, I don't know, it kind of felt like a dead mall that I might have visited. It's kind of an odd hallway. Seems ironic the office of the photographer has no photos on any of the walls in this area of the building. Let's head on up to the next floor. You can see the dome a little bit better. It's always right there in the middle. So original plans called for a dome. You saw the photo that didn't have the dome, but it was omitted during construction because of budget overruns and World War I era financial pressures. And so here on this level, you see more artwork. It's kind of surrounding the middle, more kind of like nature artwork here. If you're from Oklahoma, these are pretty commonly seen things, especially that. Tornadoes being significant here in the state of Oklahoma. This is a hall of all the governors. We have busts of all the former governors and current governor. And then there's the governor's office. So all the main offices are like this, where you see that big door and then they have artwork on either side of the buildings. This is a Hall of Heroes, which I liked a lot. Very beautiful hallway. And besides mentioning the Congressional Medal of Honor, they have, once again, more artwork that is kind of remembering servicemen and different eras of Oklahoma's history in regard to, wars. So very nicely and respectfully done. And that's where the Supreme Court is located. On up to the next level. Seems more like a working level. Not as many cool views on this level of artwork and things like that. Really can't see the dome very well. So even though the dome was omitted in the original construction, the building was engineered to support one. So later on, it didn't happen until 2002, 85 years after the building opened. And they put the Guardian, like I mentioned, on top of it. This is a really beautiful part of the Capitol. And in talking about that dome one last time, it's the first state capitol building to feature Native American sculpture atop the dome. And speaking of Native Americans, that's Jim Thorpe, one of the great athletes in history of the United States, Oklahoma native. And more fantastic artwork and paintings as you look up at this level. So the Oklahoma Capitol here is one of the few state capitals directly located on Route 66. So Phoenix, Arizona is near the route, and then Santa Fe, New Mexico is on the original alignment of Route 66. Some really interesting historical documents over here you might recognize. And right there to the right, some interesting currency, very old currency before they were using American money. There's the Senate chamber, and then a couple murals or paintings of what it might have been previously in the chamber. So in 1952, a earthquake near El Reno, which is west of Oklahoma City, caused major cracks inside the Capitol. There's one 50 feet long. So they had to do some repairs. And then Capitol was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1976. Seems pretty obvious. It was the first state capitol in the country to use geothermal energy when systems were installed in 1990. There's 650 rooms and about 11 acres of floor space. So I think this is the highest I can go. They have a rail up there, but I don't think you can go up that high. And we're back down to where we started. So I didn't notice it when I walked in, but the floor is every county in Oklahoma. They did that in Kansas too when I was at the Kansas one, so that's pretty interesting. But hope you enjoyed that tour. I really liked it. I didn't know what to expect and came away pleasantly surprised. So if you're ever in the Oklahoma City area, stop on by. Like I said, it's open every day. It's free and very cool to walk around and check out.